با دست خود گیریم آزادی در پیکارهای بی امان تا ظلم از عالم روی نهج خود آیینه کرد دهنیم آتش را بر بگوییم تا وقتی که آهن گرم است روز قضی که دارد آخرین رسم ما
So what about the role of hijab in the Iranian societies? Like let's say in Western countries, like myself living in Australia here, sometimes I can hear the Western left narrative kind of thing, like hijab is like we can say empowering, stuff like that. It's like a bit regressive, I would say, for personally myself, but I mean, apparently in our point of view, especially the ex-Muslim point of view, because we have significant knowledge on our theocracy, our Islamic studies and stuff like that, we know it is patriarchy, we know it is oppressive, but when it comes to the Western left, especially the far left organizations in the West, like some Trotsky's group and stuff like that, they say, oh, we should not do it that way, like that would be racist, stuff like that. And they counter the Islamist narrative. And we can even see that kind of narrative in the mainstream left, such as like Ilhan Omar. Like she is the most significant politician in that sense. So like, what do you think of that kind of oxymoronic politic in the West?
Well, first of all, let me be clear about this. Like, when anytime I criticize hijab, it doesn't mean like I don't recognize the right of the people to be Muslim or like covering their bodies or like whatever they want to. I believe in free choice and I support it and I recognize that right. You are free to believe in what sort of nonsenses you would like to. I respect that and I recognize that right. But if you ask me like, what's the role of hijab? When the revolution happened, as I said, the Islamists were supposed to take control of the country. So they were supposed to attack the other movements of political movements and other political parties, so oppress them so they could get the power and control the whole country. The one important fact they used that was compulsory hijab. So they attack women as a half of the society and send them home. And then after that, they oppress the whole society. So if they sometimes quite often say like the 1997 revolution in Iran was Islamic revolution, but you have to be careful about that point that it took 6 years for the Islamists to have this compulsory hijab law in Iran. So if it was the Islamic revolution, or if people were just was on the street to have hijab on TV or in public, it would immediately happen after downfalling the previous regime. But it never happened. It took 6 years for the government to make hijab as a compulsory law. So basically hijab in Iran and for the Islamic regime is not a free choice. It's an oppression tool. It's something that the government oppress the other people, specifically women. And it's not only hijab, in Iran at the moment, we can say there's a sexual apartheid. So you as a woman, for example, cannot be the president. You cannot be a judge. You cannot divorce. You cannot have your own kid. You cannot travel outside the country without your husband's permission. You cannot have passport without your husband or your dad's permission. You need to have hijab in public. If you don't have hijab, you cannot go to university. You cannot work. You cannot go outside. Yeah. And the hijab that they're saying is supposed to be in the way that they want to. So it's not only having a hair scarf. Mahsa Amini, for example, the girl who got murdered, she had hijab, but the hijab she had was not good enough for the Islamists in Iran. So that's why they killed her. You see? So if you ask me, it's we're talking about sexual apartheid against women. And of course, homosexuals, LGBTQ families. So hijab in a country like Iran or Afghanistan, when Taliban is in power, is basically is an oppression tool. It's not about like a free choice. It's not about like, you choose to be Muslim or not. It's a symbol of Islamism, and it shows that there's Ali Khamenei as a supreme leader of the country, and he controls the women's body, and he controls the women's behaviors and dressing, and the whole society is under oppressed of these brutal Islamists. In the West, however, where there is no compulsory law that people are supposed to be, I mean, people are free to choose what they want to wear. First of all, if you go deep on how to say the Islamic rituals, like I've been studying Islam. By the way, I'm coming from Mashhad, which is like second biggest city in Iran, and it's a very religious city. Like if you know about the Shia Islamists, the eighth Imam is in the same place I'm coming from. So there's like a huge mosques, and there's like a bunch of like Islamic schools. So if you go to Islamic schools, they have like so many, how to say, like features and food, and like the best schools actually are Islamic schools. And I was attending there like extra like plus like a normal high school and secondary school, I was at the Islamic school as well. So basically, if you go deep on the Islamic rituals, hijab doesn't come by a free choice for anyone. You believe in God, you're supposed to cover your body. That's it. It's not like you choose to, like, for example, in Islam, you are free to choose your lunch. Yeah, you are free to choose your partner, but you are not, as a woman, you are not free to choose the way that you would like to dress up. So it comes by oppression, basically, according to the ideology of Islam. And in the West, most of the women are coming from like the Islamic majority countries in the West, in the Europe, Australia, North America. They are oppressed by their own families. So we have like honor killing in Sweden, for example. In Stockholm, I'm living. We have this Fadima Day. Fadima was the girl who got like murdered by their families because she would like to have a Swedish boyfriend. So we have still honor killing over here. So most of these girls, like a young generation of the immigrants coming from Middle East or North America, they are mostly oppressed and forced by their parents to have hijab. Uh, Also, there are like these institutes, imams who try to brainwash the people and convince them to have hijab. And of course, we have like Islamists who are how to say the soldier of the political Islam in the West. I can mention some names. In the UK, there is like Zainab Wrights. If you like just search on the Instagram, you will see her page. Or Zara Alavi. Also, she lives in London, and if you just check what the sort of like the products she produced on the social media, they are basically all the soldier of political Islam in the West and promote hijab. And of course, there are people who freely like choose to have hijab, but in most of the cases, I would say like it's oppression against the immigrants. And that's, I mean, this is more important. I'm just gonna like make it short, but this is like a very most important point that I think everyone should be keen about. You have to answer this question, after all, why the like European countries accept the like refugees, political refugees. I'm not talking about the people who come in by the work permit or like student visa. I'm talking about war refugees, Syrian, Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, what these sort of countries, why they accept like refugees. The main answer is they are workers. They are mostly cheap workers. They are there to learn the language and go to work, get a job and pay the taxes. And they need like, according to this capitalistic rule, that's how I see it. They need to have like a different class of the people. They have like, according to the like these sort of like multiculturalism ideologies, there are like group of immigrants, different part of the city, so they never mix to each other. There's like a different class of the people. So if you belong to the like a poor class, then it's like much easier. You go for the cheap jobs, work more and get less salary. In Stockholm, for example, there's specific ghettos only for Black people, coming from Somalia and these sort of countries. There's a specific ghettos for Islam, like people coming from like Islamic countries, Iraq, Syria, Iran, these sort of countries. There is like a specific place for people coming from East Europe. and there is the place that Swedish people, the Swedish citizens live. So you will see that due this capitalistic system we have, there's like a different class of the people. So if you belong to the like in the lowest class, it's much easier to oppress you and like go for like harder jobs, work more and get less salary. And hijab is a tool to like how to say to define your identification as immigrants. You're not the local. You're not equal to the Europeans, to the citizens. You are the second citizens, basically. And hijab is that's how hijab works in a capitalistic world. And if you ask me why these what so-called leftists supporting hijab all the time, I don't think that they really care about the immigrants and humanity. They would like to have this sort of like a class of people in society. So basically, these people would work more and get less salary or like pay the taxes. It may sound like conspiracy theory sort of thing, but that's how I analyze it. That's how I see it. Because like most of these leftists, like in Sweden, for example, Vänsterpartiet, the left party, the leader of the party is Nooshi Dadgostar. She's Iranian. She was born in Iran. So I'm pretty sure she knows what's happening in Iran, and I'm pretty sure she knows the role of hijab in oppressing women. But they still support it, and they still stand on the side of the Islamists. So I think you need to like have this sort of like a Marxist sort of analyze, so to realize how hijab works in the modern society and how it helps the government to oppress people, specifically immigrants. I'm done. Sorry for too much talking.
That's a really great analysis. Yeah, I think we should go to the Marxist analysis of how things works. I think this is what most of the bourgeoisie leftists miss at the first place, because like they never come from the materialist analysis. They are already thinking of in the kind of like bourgeoisie kind of like liberalism kind of like.
Can I do something really funny? I mean,
yeah.
Because like we have this like ex-Muslim organization in Europe, like in Sweden, for example. They called me racist. This leftists.
yeah.
This
I
is
think
so
that's
funny.
common. Yeah. I have seen some protests against Mayam. I saw that one, and some of the left group make an article about her being Islamophobia. I was like, what the hell? She survived from the Islamist regime, and she has every right to fear the Islam. They were like, what? I was like, go and live there, and then you talk about the Islam, and they never did take the challenge.
Talking about like immigrants and refugees, right? No one really care about them more than me because they are my friends, they are my families. I'm one of them. I am a refugee in Sweden. Yeah. So how on earth you can call me like racist? Racist against who? Myself, my family. This is very stupid, but they still saying that. Like I was in one of these like a meeting by the young, like a left party in Sweden, and I was just criticizing Islam, and one of them said like, "You're racist." It's like, are you serious?
Yeah, man. Yeah, they are guilty, and that kind of like guilty conscience that makes them regressive. That's really bad. I had to fight a lot here as well. Like I myself is ex-Muslim, and then when I came to here, there are some groups who are willing to listen to us. Like there are some groups who are really sympathetic to the Islamists. So like the left itself is not really monogamy. Honestly, it's not really homogeneous. So, but some of them are really like defenses of the Islamists. And in that at that time, what I do is like, okay, go and live to the Islamic country, and then we can talk about it. I challenge them, and they never take the challenge. They cannot, because like most of them are really progressive when it comes to their life, right? They don't believe in like compulsory kind of thing. They don't believe in the like patriarchal values and stuff like that. But they won't survive a day if they live in the like religious fundamentalist countries. So I challenge them, like, go and live there, and then we can talk about Islam. And they are like,
and one more thing, like you need to listen to the experience of the girls coming from a country like Iran or Afghanistan. Like I have like one year younger sister. She lives in London. She's my sister. And anytime I talk to her, she said like, the insecure society where there is like, many people come and touch you on the street. And also the morale police also attack you and arrest you. And at the end of the day, you always feel that your body doesn't belong to you. You cannot control your own destiny. You cannot control your own body. You are a second citizen, or like the third citizen, even less than second, in that society. So you need to listen to these people and their experience. I like 90%, 99%, like I don't have any specific statistics, but like I can say, like, big majority of the Iranian females who are abroad, they don't have hijab. They remove their hijab. Like if you see an Iranian with a hijab in the West, they most probably coming from the government, because like normal citizens of Iran, they hate hijab. And how on earth you're talking about like refugees' right and still promoting hijab in a society? And if someone like criticize hijab, you, as you said, labelize people by Islamophobe or like racist. This is just hypocrisy, I would say.